All right, today we're going to dive into something that's, well, it's pretty big. We're talking about belief, religion, and this massive idea of truth. It's a journey that, in one way or another, involves every single one of us.
So right off the bat, here's the central puzzle. Just look back through history. We humans have come up with thousands upon thousands of religions, each one with its own unique version of the truth. Why? What does all this incredible variety really tell us about ourselves?
To even start to wrap our heads around that, let's first get a sense of the scale here. Let's explore this massive landscape of belief and see what these different systems actually have in common. And you know what's wild? When you look closely, you start to see a pattern. For all their differences on the surface, pretty much every religion on Earth is trying to tackle the exact same fundamental questions. The big ones, right? Where are we from? What's the point of all this struggle? And, maybe most importantly, how are we supposed to live a good life? But, and this is the real kicker, while the questions are universal, the answers are, well, they're all over the map. And a lot of the time, they completely contradict each other. Take a simple question. What happens after you die? Is it reincarnation, like in Hinduism or Buddhism? Or is it a one-time judgment leading to heaven or hell, like in Christianity and Islam? I mean, those answers couldn't be more different. So this brings us right to the heart of the problem. How can there be so many different truths that all claim to be the truth, especially when they can't all be right at the same time? How do we make any sense of all these contradictory certainties?
You know, when people are faced with all this diversity, it usually goes one of two ways. For some, seeing so many different paths actually makes their own faith feel stronger, more special. But for others, it raises some really deep questions about whether anyone can be certain at all. And let's be clear, both of those are completely understandable human reactions.
Okay, to really get to the bottom of this, there's this one key distinction we absolutely have to make. It's an idea that, honestly, can change the whole way you look at this subject.
And here it is. We have to separate the idea of truth from the idea of interpretation. This is all about the difference between something that might be divine and how we, as humans, try to understand it. This is the whole ballgame right here.
So think of it like this. On one hand, you have the concept of an absolute truth, something that's supposed to be perfect, unchanging, maybe even divine. But on the other hand, you have our human interpretation, how we take that truth and process it, talk about it, and live it. In our interpretation, well, it's never perfect. It's always seen through a filter. And these filters, they're things we live with every single day. The very language we speak shapes how we think. A single word in ancient Hebrew might have 10 different meanings that all get flattened into one English word during translation. Our culture gives us our entire framework for what makes sense. Our history, what our ancestors went through, shapes what we value. And yeah, power structures play a huge role in deciding which interpretations become mainstream and which ones get pushed to the side.
Now, this is so important. Pointing out that we all have these filters isn't an attack on belief. It's not saying that faith is wrong. Not at all. It's actually an invitation to be a little bit humble, to admit that maybe, just maybe, our own understanding is incomplete, and that it's shaped by who we are and where we come from. So, what happens when we forget about this difference? When we start mistaking our interpretation for the absolute unchangeable truth? Well, that's when belief can stop being a bridge and start becoming a wall.
I mean, think about it. When we look at the great conflicts in history, it's so easy to just blame religion itself, but it's usually not that simple. The real problem isn't just believing in something. It's unquestionable belief. That's the danger zone. It's the moment our version of the truth becomes the only possible version, the one that's totally closed off to questions, to conversation, to any kind of doubt. Because when your certainty becomes your entire identity, any disagreement starts to feel like a personal threat, right? When one group is absolutely convinced they have the exclusive truth, living alongside people who believe differently becomes almost impossible. And history has shown us, time and time again, that this is the path that leads straight to conflict and division. Okay, so is there another way? Can we build a different approach? Is it possible to find deep, profound meaning in our beliefs without needing to have that kind of rigid, absolute certainty? Let's just play with that idea for a second. What if the real value of a belief system isn't in its claim to be the one and only right answer, but in the comfort, the community, and the moral compass it gives to a person? And what if we stop seeing faith and doubt as total opposites? You know, maybe having doubts isn't a sign of weak faith.
Maybe it's a sign that you're wrestling with the big questions honestly, that you're truly engaged in making your belief your own.
Does my own sense of meaning become less powerful just because my neighbor finds their meaning in a totally different story? What if your truth can be profoundly important to you without needing to be a universal law for every other person on the planet?
And really, that's the question I want to leave you with. In this world that's so full of loud, competing certainties, does a truth have to shout to be heard? Does it have to be aggressive and exclusive to feel real? Or maybe, just maybe, the most profound truths are found in a quieter place, in humility, in asking questions, and in our own personal journey to find meaning. Thanks for joining me.